Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Good morning, everyone. Let's be real. Relationships are messy. Influence isn't about tricks or tactics. It's about connection, trust, and showing up as your full, messy, courageous self. If you want to win friends and truly influence people, it's not about being the loudest voice in the room or the most charming. It's about heart, honesty, and the courage to be human. So let's talk about that. We'll transform the way you connect with others. We live in a world that rewards quick opinions and snap judgments. We scroll through headlines, hear half a story, and immediately decide how we feel about it. We categorize people into boxes, right or wrong, good or bad, for us or against us. And in doing so, we miss the richness of who they really are. But here's the thing, connection and influence don't come from being right all the time. They come from being curious. Curiosity is the bridge between misunderstanding and connection. It's the quiet voice that says, I wonder why they see it that way, instead of, they're wrong. It's the pause before we jump to conclusions. It's the willingness to ask, tell me more, when every part of us wants to correct, argue, or fix. I once heard someone say, no one ever changed their mind because they were shamed into it. And isn't that the truth? When we judge, we create walls, but when we're curious, we create doors. Curiosity doesn't mean we have to agree with everyone or abandon our own values. It just means we stay open to learning something new about another person's experience. It means we recognize that behind every strong opinion is a story, a lifetime of experiences that shaped it. Think about the last time someone really listened to you. Not to respond, not to argue, but to truly understand. How did that feel? That's the kind of presence that makes people feel valued. That's the kind of connection that builds trust. And trust, that's where real influence begins. So the next time you find yourself about to judge, stop, take a breath, ask a question instead, because the more curious we become, the deeper our relationships grow. And the deeper our relationships grow, the more meaningful our influence becomes. We've been conditioned to believe that influence comes from having all the answers, from being the smartest person in the room, the one who never stumbles, never hesitates, never gets it wrong. We think that if we show even a crack in our armor, people will respect us less, listen to us less, follow us less. But the truth is, perfection isn't what draws people in. Vulnerability is. Think about the people who have made the biggest impact on your life. Were they the ones who stood on a pedestal, untouchable and flawless? Or were they the ones who admitted their struggles, who shared their failures, who let you see their humanness? Real influence isn't about impressing people. It's about making them feel safe enough to be real themselves. And that starts with you being real first. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's not oversharing or spilling your deepest fears to everyone you meet. It's about having the courage to show up as you are without the mask, without the script, without the need to prove yourself. It's saying, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. It's admitting, I got that wrong and I'm going to make it right. It's being able to say, me too, when someone shares something hard, instead of distancing yourself. The irony is that the more we try to appear perfect, the less relatable we become. People don't trust perfection. It feels fake, distant, unapproachable. But when we lead with vulnerability, we create connection. And connection is what builds trust. When people trust you, they listen to you, they follow you, they allow themselves to be influenced by you. Not because you've convinced them, but because they feel safe with you. So what does this look like in practice? It means owning your mistakes instead of covering them up. It means asking for help instead of pretending you have it all figured out. It means being willing to say, I'm struggling with this instead of powering through silently. And most of all, it means showing up fully, imperfectly, and courageously. Because at the end of the day, people don't need you to be perfect, they need you to be real. And when you are, that's when you truly have influence. We live in a world where people are constantly trying to prove their worth through their achievements, their titles, their social media presence, their ability to be seen and heard. But deep down, what every single person wants, what we all crave, is to feel valued, to feel like we matter, to know that someone sees us, really sees us, beyond just what we can do or produce. And yet, so often, we rush through our interactions without really engaging. We listen just long enough to respond. We remember names just long enough to get through a conversation. We compliment people because it's polite, not because we truly see something remarkable in them. But when we do this, we miss the chance to create real, meaningful connections. Making someone feel important isn't about flattery or empty words. It's about presence. It's about paying attention, about truly seeing people. When someone talks to you, are you thinking about your next meeting, your phone buzzing in your pocket, what you're going to say next? Or are you fully there, eyes on them, engaged in what they're sharing? Because there's a world of difference between hearing someone and truly listening to them. And people know the difference. One of the simplest yet most powerful ways to make someone feel important is to say their name and mean it. Not just in passing, not just because you were taught that it builds rapport, but because it's a small way of saying, I see you. But it goes deeper than that. It's remembering the little details, asking about the big presentation they were nervous about, checking in after they mentioned their child was sick, recalling something they told you weeks ago that they never expected you to remember. It's also about acknowledging people's contributions. When someone does something well, say it, not in a vague, hey, good job kind of way, but in a way that makes them feel truly seen. The way you handled that meeting was incredible. You made everyone feel heard, and that takes real skill. Or, I noticed how hard you worked on that project, and I just want you to know it didn't go unnoticed. Specificity matters. It makes the praise feel real instead of routine. But the most important part, it has to be genuine. People can sense when words are empty, when kindness is performative, when attention is transactional. Making someone feel important isn't about what you get in return. It's about recognizing their worth, just because. And when you do this, when you make people feel valued, not because you're trying to win them over, but because you genuinely see them, you build trust, connection, and influence in a way that no amount of charm or persuasion ever could. Disagreements are inevitable. No matter how much we try to surround ourselves with like-minded people, no matter how carefully we choose our words, at some point we're going to come across a situation where we just don't see eye to eye with someone. And in today's world, where conversations often feel like battlegrounds, where people are quick to label, dismiss, or cancel each other over differences, the ability to disagree without disrespecting has become a lost art. But it's one of the most powerful skills you can develop, both in building relationships and in influencing others. The truth is, influence isn't about proving you're right. It's not about winning arguments or making the other person back down. Influence is about connection, and connection requires mutual respect, even when, especially when you disagree. Because here's the thing, no one has ever changed their mind because they were humiliated, belittled, or attacked. You don't persuade someone by making them feel small. You persuade them by making them feel heard. One of the biggest mistakes we make when we disagree is listening to respond instead of listening to understand. We hear a viewpoint that challenges our own, and our brain immediately goes into defense mode. We start crafting counterarguments, waiting for the moment we can jump in and prove our point. But real connection happens when we pause and choose curiosity instead. When we say, "Help me understand how you see this," instead of, "Let me tell you why you're wrong." When we ask, "What life experience has shaped this belief for you?" Respecting someone doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It doesn't mean you have to soften your stance or abandon your values. It simply means you recognize their humanity is more important than being right. It means you're willing to hold space for their perspective, even when it makes you uncomfortable. It means you can have hard conversations without making them personal. And let's be honest, this is hard. When we feel passionate about something, when we believe deeply in our perspective, it's tempting to dismiss opposing views as ignorant or misinformed. But every belief, every opinion comes from somewhere. If we take the time to understand why someone sees the world the way they do, we might not change our minds, but we will change how we see them. And that shift from opposition to understanding is where real influence begins. So the next time you find yourself in a disagreement, ask yourself, am I trying to win or am I trying to understand? Because one will end the conversation and the other will open the door to real connection. And at the end of the day, connection is where influence truly lives. In a world that often tells us to look out for ourselves, to climb the ladder, to make sure we get what we deserve, the idea of giving more than you take can feel counterintuitive. We're taught to negotiate for the best deal, to maximize our returns, to make sure we're not being taken advantage of. And while there's nothing wrong with setting boundaries and advocating for ourselves, the most influential and well-loved people, the ones who truly leave an impact, are the ones who give without keeping score. Giving isn't about grand gestures or material things. It's about generosity of spirit, about showing up for others in ways that make them feel valued and supported. It's about offering kindness, encouragement, time, and energy, not because you expect something in return, but because you genuinely want to contribute to someone else's life. It's about walking into every interaction and asking, how can I add value here? Instead of, what can I get out of this? Think about the people who have made a lasting impact on you. Chances are they weren't the ones who only showed up when they needed something, who only invested in relationships when there was a benefit for them. They were the ones who gave freely, who encouraged you when they didn't have to, who supported you without asking for anything in return. That's the kind of generosity that builds trust. That's the kind of giving that creates deep, lasting influence. The beauty of giving more than you take is that it doesn't just benefit others, it transforms you. It changes the way you see relationships. When you stop keeping score, when you stop treating every interaction like a transaction, you start to experience real connection. You start to build a reputation as someone who is reliable, someone who is supportive, someone who people want to be around, not because you're powerful, but because you make them feel important. This kind of giving isn't about being a doormat or saying yes to everything. It's about leading with generosity while also honoring your own needs. It's about recognizing that true influence doesn't come from what you demand, it comes from what you contribute. And the irony, the more you give, the more you receive. Not in a calculated transactional way, but in the sense that people remember how you made them feel. They trust you, they respect you, and when the time comes for them to support or uplift someone, you'll be the person they think of. So if you want to win friends and influence people, give. Give your attention, give your encouragement, give your knowledge, give your time when you can. And most importantly, give without expectation. Because in the end, influence isn't about what you get. It's about what you leave behind in the hearts and minds of others. So, if you want to win friends and influence people, don't focus on tricks, strategies, or manipulation. Focus on who you are. Be curious, be real, make people feel seen, hold space for different views, and above all, lead with generosity. That's not just how you win people over, that's how you change the world. Thank you.